Greetings, everyone. It's great to be with you again. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all you do by the way of learning, growing, and serving. Today, our presentation is entitled On the Trail of the Logos. The Logos is an intriguing and wide-ranging concept for students of life and mysticism. We will consider its meaning, implications, and application through the ages and by the Rosicrucians. For example, does the Logos cause the world to be an icon and script of the divine? If so, can they be read through increased sensitivity and wisdom for the well-being of all? In this manner, we'll continue to review Rosicrucian laws and principles for the mastery of life, harmonious living, and service. In this regard, I've prepared some images to show you that I think you'll find quite intriguing. You see now displayed for you a rather dramatic and solemn scene, yet it's part of a special exhibit in Ireland. You may recognize it as the Book of Kells. It's on display in the old library, possibly you visited, of the Library of Trinity College, the University of Dublin. It's one of the masterworks of humankind. It has a great deal to do with our presentation today on the trail of the Logos. You'll find around it is actually displayed scenes for illuminated within the manuscript. They're blown up tremendously. There's a lot of developments in museums in recent years, and we see a similar approach being taken at the Alchemy Museum at Rosicrucian Park in San Jose, California. It's part of the Rosicrucian Order AMWORC. And trying to make museums more accessible, more experiential, and for people of all ages and backgrounds. It's beautiful that the term museum has much etymology or sacred origins to it. For example, with the nine muses of Apollo that conveying the arts and the sciences. Indeed, there's always signs and words and things around us to understand things more deeply. And this is part of being on the trail of the Logos that we're going to talk about today. So let's go a little bit further ahead. Let's enter into the Book of Kells. Referred to as illuminated manuscript, it certainly has the sense, you could say, illuminated in terms of greater understanding, yes, but particularly the term is used in art history being the way that the book is, well, so richly colored. The pages I'm showing you here are associated with the Gospel of Matthew. And we're particularly looking at the more mystical or deeper interpretation of this text. By mysticism, we mean direct experience of the one, the full rapport with the divine within, the coming into the consciousness of the cosmic, the universal intelligence and all natural and spiritual laws. Can be referred to within mystical Christianity as the Christ consciousness. On the left, we'll see it's referred to as a cross carpet page because it's somewhat like a carpet. And its design. And in the middle, we'll find the Chi-Rho page, which I'm going to focus on particularly. And then on the right, some text and the beautiful calligraphy of the Book of Kells. And most of the pages are of the type on the right, but even there you'll see the expert use of writing, the various elaborations in terms of the flair for the colors and so forth. You'll find even a written word here, which I'll tell you some more about as well. These books were done with a tremendous facility in geometry and how to fill space. And there's a tour de force of the practical application of geometry, but also the sacred expression of geometry. And the traditional term that God geometrizes or the divine geometrizes is something very rich going down through the ages and in our Rosicrucian tradition. In looking at these texts, let's zoom in a little bit more, and we'll use this to enter into our meditation period. You'll see a close-up of the cross carpet page of the Gospel of Matthew. You see all the different intertwinings going on and so forth. There's a rich sense of energy and dynamism. Similarly, in the great Chi-Rho page we have before us, in a way, it's one of the most remarkable works of all the illuminated manuscripts. You see, the Book of Kells dates from around 800 CE. So we're going back 12 centuries. And there's 340 folios you can think of as pages. Its size is about 330 millimeters by 250, 255 millimeters. Not that different from not quite the same, but close to an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that you may be used to. And yet they're putting all this tremendous detail in it. It's thought to come from tend to indicate it came from Iona, an island off the west coast of Scotland. Though Northumbria, the island, England, or Pickland and eastern Scotland may also be, because there's a lot of cultural changes going on. And you can think of the period of the Middle Ages. Would be deemed the early Middle Ages, as I mentioned, around 800 CE. The Middle Ages are actually a time of tremendous technological advancement going on in a variety of different ways, including to be able to do a manuscript like this. The craftsperson and the scribe were co-creators with the divine in the expression of the divine, kind of like the word going forth, which I'll describe further here. And the pages are made from vellum, which means they're created from calf's hide. So literally the word is being made flesh. And they're employing the most advanced technology of their time, and the materials for the pigments would be gathered from nearby through detailed knowledge of the surrounding landscape and environment, and from afar through trade. And the pigments would have to be made ground in mortar and pestle or similar. And it's very interesting that the spiritual tradition of these monks would be following the desert mothers and fathers that helped shape the monastic practices of early and later uh, medieval period in Ireland and England. And these desert practices in solitary places for spiritual retreat were adapted to Ireland and Britain. Now, the manuscript appears to have had a liturgical or ritual function and is being displayed during religious services as an expression of the Word of God, and hence the concept of the Logos we're about to talk about. And the manuscripts would have attracted persons from far and wide to behold and witness these elaborate and beautiful works. And it was tended to be a largely oral culture. Many people would not be reading at that time. So in some ways, it was all the more wonderful, all the more remarkable, all the more inspiring to see these texts that could be vocalized, just like creation was vocalized by the divine. I want to show you some related things about this page. If you zoom in on it, you'll see there's the great chi shape, the Greek letter for chi, but also if you look down below on it, you'll find here there's the rho, which is again, they're wording in Latin, but they're using Greek as a traditional form for the chi rho and iota there. So the chi rho for the Christ, and also the iota for Christi, of Christ. Intriguingly, in the work, you'll find that there's a tour de force of different imagery. For example, there's a head here of the human, thought to be Yeshua, the master Jesus. But if you look closely on the work, you'll see there's various animals. There's a concept of the Logos, the Christ as the Word. Indeed, in Matthew, it talks about the generations that came to up to the time of Jesus, but also showing his sacred lineage. So it's also symbolic of his sacred persons that came before him, and that he's in their lineage and passing on their sacred tradition. But also in the sense of the Gospel of John, that Christ as the Logos, as the Word, the great ordering principle. And to give you a little more of a sense of this, and to maybe bring it down a little more to earth for you, I've put in the size of a U.S. dime, the Franklin D. Roosevelt dime, same size as the Canadian dime, if you're more used to it. And you can see how much detailed work they were doing at such a small scale compared to the size of a dime. It's about 17.9 millimeters. They did not have magnifying glasses. So they're working in a very fine way as a team to do these works and to take. There's various estimates the duration of the book. It wasn't entirely finished. They'd be working intensely over team. It could be over a decade or decades to do this. And you'll see in it, there's an angelic figure here. If you look closely in other places, there's animals. It was essentially the word going forth, the forming of creation. And in some ways, this is one of the most spectacular displays of this concept of the word went forth. I'll give you some resources on this as well. Here's another view, which will be centered um, lower down. We'll see two rabbits here and other animals here. They have actually a communion wafer that's part of the celebration of the Mass. There was a great playfulness. We know from the Book of Kells and from other illuminated manuscripts from that time, most have not survived, but we're very fortunate to have a masterpiece like this and others. That sometimes the monks would put in the margins some comments about their experiences about being tired or being cold or experiences of how much they appreciate when they finally finished the book and the last word and the elation that they had completed this work of God's word. So this is as I mentioned earlier, a close up on most of the text folios of pages in the text would look like this, writing in the Latin. And they'd have to write with great care. They'd write on both sides of the vellum, and then ultimately be sewn together in a finished work. And it'd be something that people would come in pilgrimage, could see and use in the celebration of the liturgy. So let's use this as a time to enter into our meditation. Take a good look at this Cairo page, which in a way is the word going forth, the logos, the system and order of creation, all the natural and spiritual laws being expressed and clothed. Just in the book by Pastor Ralph M. Lewis, I'll give you resources on towards the end of this presentation. There's a very beautiful idea he expresses there as part of the Rosicrucian tradition that we are to experience the cosmic and we are to emulate the cosmic. And those two actions mutually reinforce themselves as a duality, but ultimately a unity. For the cosmic, as I mentioned earlier, is the universal intelligence back of the cosmos. In a way, we've seen a diagram of the cosmos that could be contemplated by the monks, as we are doing now. But it also have all the natural and spiritual laws suggested in it. Similar to in our own lives, it's like discerning and distinguishing the Cairo page, seeing the clues, the signs, the symbols in our everyday living as we grow and mature. With these inspiring thoughts in mind, as we see the Latin word at the bottom there for speaking of the generation or the creation of Jesus, spoken in the book of Matthew. It speaks of in Matthew 1:18, now the birth of Christ, Christi autem generatio. That's what's being written here in a very stylized form. So we'll look at having our own inner spiritual birth, the Christ consciousness during our meditation. I invite you now to close your eyes and let go of the cares of the day. And just enjoy the gentle rhythm of your breath. Either holding the inhalation or holding the exhalation. I invite you to breathe a little deeper than usual. This is the word went forth and the breath went forth. We create the universe, so we as co-creators will do likewise to remake ourselves now. And breathing a little deeper than usual, we'll feel even more this wonderful vibratory action. Part of the mastery of life is the mastery of the breath. And with that, I invite you to extend your exhalation longer than your inhalation. And you'll automatically feel the relaxation response. The great vagus nerve will be stimulated. These and many more things are taught to us and reviewed for us in various exercises and teachings of the Rosicrucian order that we study weekly in our monographs, in our home sanctum, our special sacred place in our home. And with each extended exhalation, longer than inhalation, I think you'll find that there's a building or cumulative effect of increased calmness, tranquility, equanimity, and imperturbability. Just enjoy the experience as we let go. Use this as a time of a mini retreat to be rested and recharged and re-energized. With each outgoing breath, you can feel that increased calmness. So important to be able to think clearly, to hasten the healing or making whole processes within ourselves into all we come in contact with. And with the incoming breath, you may wish to sense the increasing presence of the Christ consciousness, the cosmic consciousness, the divine within. Just continue to be anchored in the breath and the present. Increasing letting go of the illusions, time and space. While they're necessary to learn, let us transcend them now increasingly. The body, the holy temple, likes to be calm. The heart and mind and our whole being likes to be calm. Many wonderful healing tonic actions take place when we're calm. All the various different systems of our nature work harmoniously and melodically. Our immune system, our cardiovascular system, our nervous system, our respiratory system, and more, working as a unity. Giving us a boost in living, freeing us up to be more fully ourselves. If you find your mind wandering, you can lovingly and gently bring it back to the discipline of the breath. No need for any self-negativity in this or anything else. It's all part of the process of strengthening our attentional control. Being able to stay on task and where we're concentrating. We have many lessons through the Rosicrucian teachings and exercises on how to increasingly do this. This is one of them. I think you'll find that your heart is beating more slowly now. And we're moving to what's technically referred to as optimal heart rate variability. The sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems are working together to achieve an autonomic balance that is highly dynamic and steering us through life. You can think of with each breath, we're made anew. We're experiencing things afresh. Let's just continue to let go, be receptive. Feel all there is to feel. Indeed, feel all that can be felt. while we're still and silent, we can sense beneath the surface there's a tremendous amount of action taking place. A healing action, a harmonious action, a unifying action in realization. Having purified ourselves through this breathing exercise, we'll continue our meditation by applying the instructions of the Rosicrucian booklet Liber 777. The key meditational aid. Give you the resources on towards the end of the presentation. And a wonderful book to keep coming back to as we grow and learn and become more fully ourselves. And we may be able to read deeper and deeper meaning into it. Just like we can with All About Us in the great Cairo page we've experienced. Now let's apply the law of purification, the law of cosmic attunement now. I invite you to say with me, may the divine essence of the cosmic infuse my being and cleanse me of all impurities of mind and body, that I may enter the celestial sanctum and attune in pureness and in worthiness. So mote it be. Now let us sense ourselves or picture ourselves rising up wherever we're situated, up over the building we're in, the home office, rising up over our neighborhood, our local geographic area, even our town, our city, our village. Rising up faster and faster, let us use great inner spiritual force, all our psychic capacity and imaginative functions to rise higher and higher, up over now our province or state, our great nation or country, seen below the manifestations of system and order, expressions of the logos, great weather systems, great landform systems and water systems, as we rise higher and higher, faster and faster, now over our continent, indeed over our hemisphere, now rised up over the beautiful blue jewel of the earth, our home and planet, a wondrous temple. We rise higher and higher. You can sense more and more of the solar system, the great elliptical orbits of the planets, and the great fiery ball of the sun, our local star. So we rise higher and higher beyond the extremes of the solar system, half myriad stellar phenomena, the quasars, the pulsars, the black holes helping balance the universe. Indeed, asteroids, rogue planets, great cosmic web connecting the stars and galaxies. We rise higher and higher and sensing that we're inside a great arm of a galaxy. Our expansive home, the Milky Way galaxy with its great spiraling arms. We pass by myriad stars and nebulae, exit out from the great arm, and look back at its wondrous, beautiful beauty and shape, rotating about its central axis, just as our lives rotate about it. The holy temple's spinous axis. We rise higher and higher, past myriad stars and nebula and galaxies, going way beyond the speed of light, which transcends space and time. sensing the harmony of the spheres, the wondrous music of the cosmos, the tremendous range of vibrations and what Rosicrucians refer to as the cosmic keyboard. Our lives are made up of becoming master musicians or pianists of the cosmic keyboard. You sense the full range of higher and higher octaves of vibrations, going faster and faster into the vastness of the universe, suggesting the vastness, the Christ consciousness, the cosmic consciousness. Sense increasingly the cosmic, the universal intelligence, back of the cosmos and all natural and spiritual laws at work. You may sense at a certain point that the entire universe is rotating about a great axis spoken of since ancient times, the cosmic axis. And when you sense it, home in at great rapidity, tremendous speed towards its midpoint, the very center of the universe, the very center of the cosmos. And you sense that midpoint of the great cosmic axis about which all is rotating. Home in on it and slow up. When you reach it, let us dwell there for a moment in silence, taking in this stupendous action of the entirety of the cosmos rotating about us. The great system and order of the Logos. The continual manifestation of the Word, spoken in the forming of creation, continue to reverberate all about us. Now let's continue to follow the instructions of the booklet, Liber 777. I invite you to mentally create your personal sacred space, your celestial sanctum. Maybe an inspiring temple, uplifting vantage point back on earth. Fill in the sights and sounds, the various impressions. Make it real, make it vital. Your sacred space, this high point of consciousness at the center of the universe, at the center of your being. You may wish to sense inspiring symbols or stained glass windows depicting mystical and Rosicrucian laws and principles. You may wish to sense the presence of others on this conference call with you and all seekers, the visible and invisible masters, the Grand Lodge and Supreme Grand Lodge officers of the Rosicrucian Order and more conducting a sacred convocation. Fill in your personal celestial sanctum according to your own wish and need at this time. Soon we'll close our period of mental creation or visualization while we continue our meditation. We'll manifest this deep attunement with the celestial sanctum we've just mentally created. Let us further manifest it now by releasing it into the subconscious, into the cosmic mind by saying with me, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. And release the visualization or mental creation and dwell in peace profound. As we dwell upon the lost silence, we'll now shift from the mental creation to concentration on its fulfillment. Increasingly sense the presence of the divine within, the master within, our true nature and guide. Now, before we formally conclude this period of meditation, I invite you to undertake with me a further spiritual operation of the work and worship of the Rosicrucian Order Emmark. I invite us to work with the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace to radiate love and well-being to all those who have petitioned the Council of Solace for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those who petition affiliate bodies, the Grand Lodge of the Rosicrucian Order Emmark for guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those we know who are in need of guidance and healing. And let us radiate love and well-being to all those sentient beings throughout the cosmos who are in need of guidance and healing. At this time, let the love and well-being flow out from your heart and mind, reaching out to the great expanses of the cosmos to fill the cosmos, reaching all those in need, moving out at a great rapidity, just like we rose up to this high point of consciousness, the celestial sanctum, with great rapidity. Enjoy the exhilaration of the flow. This is our birthright. This is part of what is fundamentally is to be a living being. Let the flow unfold. And at a certain point, I think you'll find that it'll speed up and you know you're reaching those in need. No conscious effort is no longer needed. Just let the divine within take over in this spiritual operation. It knows exactly how to do this. This work of awakening the healing forces within all those in need. And when you've accomplished this, just let the flow occur and let go. And feel all there is to feel. And at a certain point, you may wish, as the radiations go out from you, that your mind go out with them, filling the cosmos. Mind everywhere. experiencing as the cosmic experiences. Healing as the great healer, the divine within heals, with these great radiations of love and well-being. Soon we'll formally conclude this period of the work of the Silent Council in conjunction with the Council of Solace, assured that the radiations of love and well-being will continue from us as a way of life, as part of our mission in life, as part of our full growing up. Full realization of the Rose Cross state. Full rapport with cosmic consciousness. I invite you to say with me now, if it pleases the cosmic, it is done. So mote it be. Let us dwell a while longer at the heights of the celestial sanctum, enriched and ennobled. Having applied the law of service, the law of humility, the law of cosmic attunement, the law of assumption, and many other Rosicrucian laws and principles, I invite you now to invoke with me the law of gratitude, to intensify the application of cosmic attunement, as we express our gratitude and thanks to all those who have served us well, to all those who have taught us well, and to all those who have loved us well. We feel their presence and love as we radiate the same back to them and join with them in unity. Now we'll formally conclude this period of cosmic attunement with the celestial sanctum, assured that it will continue as an inner way of life at all times with us. And we'll keep coming back to the celestial sanctum in a formal way. Increasingly realize it's with us at all times. Now let's travel at tremendous speed, way beyond the speed of light, past the myriad stars and quasars and pulsars and nebula and galaxies, the great cosmic web connecting the stars and galaxies, taking in the great harmony of the spheres, wondrous music of the so dynamic action, the reverberating word, the laws and principles of the Logos. You see in the distance our great home, the Milky Way galaxy, and plunge into its great arm where we dwell, past the myriad stars and stellar phenomena, nebula, and comets and asteroids, and black holes, back to our solar system and the beautiful elliptical orbits, the great star, our sun, its radiations we're feeling. So we come back to the temple of the earth, the hemisphere where we left off, the continent, the great nation or country, our province or state, our county, our local geographic area, or village, or town, or city, and in our neighborhood. I invite you to say with me before we conclude this period of meditation. May the God of my heart sanctify this attunement of self with the celestial sanctum, so mote it be. And let us continue to ascend back on our home or building where we left off, the room where we are situated, back in the holy temple of the body, being remade, re-energized, all the more competent. We're discharging our duties, living out the work and worship of the Rosicrucian order, Amor, now and always. And when you're ready, you may wish to open your eyes and stretch, and we'll formally continue our meditation. Thank you, everyone. Now, the word logos is a Greek word, and it means something said or account. And you will find it has various uses to mean speech or word or analogy, proportion, measure, reason, discourse. Indeed, as a concept, it's seen in ancient Egypt, in the Stoic philosophy of ancient Greece, for example, Judaism, Christianity, and in essential terms, you'll see it in other spiritual philosophies of the world, such as Buddhism and Hinduism. In Judaism, there's the word memra, which is the Aramaic word for word or speech. And we find the Philo of Alexandria as part of the traditional history of the Rosicrucians. The first century Hellenistic Jewish philosopher used the Greek term logos as well. And he meant by it, it was an intermediary between the transcendent God or divine and the manifested or material world. And identifying the firstborn of God or the divine as the logos, the agent of creation, and the bond of everything, just as we experienced in our meditation. Indeed, you can view the logos not only as a high-flying concept, but we can bring it down to earth more as an experience, which will then bring us to the great heights of the cosmic again. You know, as mentioned by one scholar, you can think of the demiurge that's spoken of in Plato's Timaeus, for example, in various spiritual traditions of antiquity, that the demiurgic logos was like the Egyptian Hugh, equated with Thoth, the god Thoth, or the spiritual principle of Thoth, and the tongue of Ra, who transforms thoughts of the heart into spoken and written language, thus creating and articulating the world as a script or an icon of the gods. It's the intermediary divine power, indeed, as an image of the noetic cosmos, that is, cosmos of the immaterial, the intellect, the intuition, then is the pattern for the manifestation of the physical cosmos, regarded as multiple logos containing the plurality of the individual logi. Indeed, the Neoplatonic philosopher Plotinus speaks of this in his Enneads. We note in this that the use of the tongue, thoughts, writing, language, and the heart, script and icon. We know from our Rosicrucian teachings that the outer self needs impressions from the inner self, clothed, to be able to make them interpretable. You know, also, we find that in our thoughts and our actions and in writing, we'll find that these very acts themselves are expressions of the logos. They have that profound meaning in our everyday life. It's true the logos is a noun, and one way it's often understood is as the divine wisdom, the Holy Sophia, or the Sophia, that manifests in creation, government, and the redemption of the world. It is often identified in the mystical Christianity as the second person of the Trinity, if we concentrate on that Chi-Rho symbol in the illuminated manuscript. But also through ancient Greece, the logos as the reason, um, that is the controlling principle in the universe. Indeed, in mystical Christianity, the Christ or the Christ principle or the Christ consciousness or the cosmic consciousness as the logos, or enabling the full experience of the logos, suggested by the Chi-Rho page of the book of Kells we wondrously saw earlier. Indeed, the term logos is used in the Rosicrucian studies. It's a term of the Rosicrucian order Amorc. We find, for example, the logos entry in the Rosicrucian glossary, dating from 1985, is defined as the creative, cosmic, or divine power manifest as a spoken word, the divine idea or thought objectified by divine utterance. We see then that the logos was held to be a rational principle in the universe. It's the mind of the divine emanating into the world. It is the creative force which permeates the universe, and a series of natural laws giving matter its structure. In some sense, the divine entered the world through its thoughts, and then were the moving force which brought about the system of laws that are studied in science and our Rosicrucian teachings and so forth. There's a profound connection of the logos with the concept of the lost word that we study in our Rosicrucian teachings and learn how to recover in very, very practical and inspiring ways. Indeed, our work on Rosicrucian laws and principles can be described as our increasing realization of the logos. We must be vigilant and always on the lookout for the laws and principles that we're recognizing, realizing, applying, and being conveyed to us through the logi or the logos. Indeed, as the rays of light emanating from the sun remain connected to the sun, so too the logos remains connected to the divine source. That is, by learning laws and principles and applying them in our lives and service, we're drawn back to the logos. And so doing, we're all the more become more aware of these laws and principles to apply them further. And then by that means we emulate the cosmic and we're able to tune with the cosmic more. By tuning with the cosmic more, we're more able to emulate. And we have this mutually reinforcing, harmonious action going on. Indeed, in this way, as traditionally viewed, the divine can be, has its signs, its symbols, its icons, and its scripts throughout creation. And they can be read through increased sensitivity and wisdom for the well-being of all. That's part of the reason we did the meditation, was to be able to do this. We find this in the modern period, for example, the laws of science. Indeed, for example, the Rosicrucian student, Albert Einstein, sought the unification of the fundamental forces of nature and their underlying laws and principles as a great working out of the logos in the cosmos. And we can do similar in our daily lives as we increasingly realize the laws and principles by which we are growing, maturing, and serving. In this manner, we're drawn back to the divine, increased in our realization of the one, and are then better able to apply the laws and principles with a heightened efficiency and deep sense of meaning for the well-being of ourselves and all we come in contact with. This time, I'll invite Karen to paste the resources in the chat for you. They'll be in 3 pastes. You won't be able to copy them, but you can click the links. But also invite Karen to upload for you a PDF document that has all the resources in them, in addition to what we experience in our weekly lessons of the Rosicrucian order Amorc. So by way of conclusion, I will say that we've been on the trail of the logos. We experienced it in our meditation period. Indeed, we always do when we go about learning and growing in life. The logos is an intriguing and wide-ranging concept, and indeed experience for students of life and mysticism. We've considered its meaning, implications, and application through the ages and by the Rosicrucians. And we've looked at the logos causing an icon or script or the presence of laws and system and order in the world, and it's through its divine source. And this is part of the mystical pantheism that's emphasized in the Rosicrucian tradition. And we've considered more through our increased sensitivity and wisdom that we can use these signs and laws and principles for the well-being of all. And in this manner, we've continued to review Rosicrucian laws and principles for the mastery of life, harmonious living, and service. Thank you, everyone.